Okay, so the idea of getting the perfect body is, it's nothing new, but something's different now. In certain corners of the internet, that quest is twisting into something really dangerous. We're going to dive into a trend called Looksmaxxing and figure out where that line is, the one between self-improvement and straight-up self-destruction.
So that's actor Zac Efron, right? He's talking about what it actually took to get that Baywatch body. And it wasn't just hitting the gym. We're talking extreme overtraining, diuretics. He basically wasn't sleeping. And his point is huge. If a guy like him, a Hollywood star, is telling you that look is basically fake, that it's more like CGI than something a real human can maintain, well, what does that say about the pressure on everybody else?
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? What happens when that Hollywood-level pressure finds its way into a teenager's bedroom? We're going to look at how this whole thing can feed into a serious mental health issue and how it's created this really toxic online world that, honestly, isn't staying online anymore.
All right, first things first. To really get what's going on, we need to talk about the clinical side of this, because this is so much more than just vanity. It's a real recognized condition that can literally take over someone's entire life.
So the official term is Body Dysmorphic Disorder, or BDD. And what it is this intense, constant worry about flaws in your appearance. But here's the key. These flaws are often completely unnoticeable to anyone else. And that's what's so crucial to get. This isn't about being vain. It's a really painful condition where the way you see yourself is just completely disconnected from reality.
And you can see how this just seeps into every part of a person's life. Simple things like looking in a mirror can become this source of obsession or something you avoid at all costs. It's this endless cycle of comparing yourself to others, trying to hide flaws no one else can even see, and sometimes even things like picking at your skin to try and make it perfect. It's a relentless pursuit of an impossible ideal.
Okay, so now let's narrow the focus a bit. Let's look at how this condition shows up specifically in men and teenage boys, because it often takes on this really unique and powerful form.
Yeah, you might have heard it called bigorexia. And it's basically a subtype of BDD where a person is just obsessed with the idea that they're not muscular enough, even if, to everyone else, they look huge and super well-muscled. It's this total disconnect. What they see in the mirror is the exact opposite of what the rest of the world sees.
And this quote from actor Justin Baldoni, man, it just hits so hard. He connects his own struggle with this directly to being bullied when he was a kid. It's such a perfect and heartbreaking example of how those old wounds, those deep insecurities can stick with you, even when you're a successful actor who's in amazing physical shape.
So you take that internal struggle, that private battle, and then you throw it into the online world. And that's where things get explosive. It builds into this viral and, frankly, pretty disturbing trend that's absolutely breaking into the mainstream.
And that trend is called Looksmaxxing. On the surface, it's all about self-improvement. It's sold as a way for guys to, maximize their looks, their sexual market value. And hey, some of the advice is pretty standard stuff, like skincare. But you go a little deeper down that rabbit hole, and it spirals into some really extreme and genuinely dangerous territory. And the scale here, it's just mind-blowing. Let's take this one thing, this practice called bone smashing. I'm not kidding. It's literally what it sounds like. People hitting their own faces, hoping to reshape their jawline. And videos about it on TikTok have, get this, over 267 million views. So yeah, this isn't some tiny, weird corner of the internet anymore. This is huge.
And this is where you can really see that escalation. It starts with something healthy, like working out, but that gets twisted into obsessive exercise, maybe even steroid use, or simple skincare turns into something like bone smashing. Or you have mewing, which is this technique of changing your tongue posture to try and change your face shape. It's a slide from self-care into self-harm.
But behind that self-improvement label, things get really dark. I mean, actual researchers looked into this. They found that these communities are often the exact opposite of supportive. Instead, they're full of guys tearing each other down for their looks, and in the absolute worst cases, even encouraging people to hurt themselves.
So the big question is, why now? Why is this blowing up? Well, it seems to be this perfect storm of powerful social media algorithms and these much bigger pressures in our society about how we're supposed to look.
Check this out. A study found that while way more girls and young women say social media makes them feel bad about themselves, it's not that boys aren't feeling it. Focus groups showed they feel massive pressure too. They just don't talk about it. So you have this kind of silent crisis brewing, where guys are using social media as motivation, chasing this impossible ideal, but they have no way to talk about the anxiety it's causing. And it goes even deeper than just social media. Some experts point to our whole culture of competition. This idea that we constantly have to be optimizing ourselves, treating our own bodies like a product that needs to be upgraded for the market. When you think like that, self-improvement stops being about feeling good and starts being this never-ending stressful competition.
So where do we go from here? What can actually be done? The answer isn't to just stop trying to improve. It's about changing why you're doing it. It's about shifting that motivation away from outside pressure and towards your own internal sense of well-being. And when it comes to young people, experts say that parents can make a massive difference. Simple but crucial things, looking for signs that they might be getting bullied, setting some limits on social media, teaching them how to think critically about what they see online, and maybe most importantly, taking a look at their own attitudes about looks.
But really, at the end of the day, it all boils down to this huge mental shift. It's the difference between a goal that comes from perfectionism, like, I have to get a perfect body, versus a goal that comes from your own values, like, I want to be strong and healthy so I can feel good. One is all about getting approval from others, which is a trap. The other is about your own well-being, which is where real growth happens.
And that leaves us with this one final, really big question to think about. We live in a world that literally profits from making us feel insecure. So how do we learn to actually value ourselves, just as we are? Because at the end of the day, any real journey of self-improvement, it has to start from a place of self-acceptance.